Welcome.
What up?
To the Habits of the Few.
What we got for them?
Where we discuss habits, rituals, and mindset tactics that you can use to reach your version of success. Yeah. And now, here's your host, Mo Nabolsi.
My dad would roll up in this big ass old truck full of trash, right? Because after school, you have to go over there to the landfill and dump the trash that the guys put in the truck. And I'd be like, damn, who's that rolling up over here? Because your friends are right there. And then my dad would roll the window down and he'd be like, hey, come on, let's go. It's time to go to work. I'm like, fuck, that's me. So I would jump in that beater and then we would go, dump the truck, 3:45 while everybody else is hanging with the friends. That's what I did for years. So in fact, that's how I paid for my school. Started doing better electrical jobs, cleaner stuff. So it was a story of struggle pretty much, like you see in a lot of the entrepreneurship.
Can I pause you real quick right there before I continue your story, because it's just really, really important. I think the biggest contributor to success, and I don't specifically mean entrepreneurial success, just success in the fact that you develop some form of grit. Like where the fuck do you see grit in today's society? Yeah. It's totally, and I hate sounding so like one-sided and biased, but it like you and I, man, like I'm with you. Like it was a struggle. Mm-hmm. I was working illegally when I was 14 years old, pumping gas in the middle of the night, like after school. Yep. Anything you could do. My uncle would pay me under the table. It was a lot of money to me at the time. And it's like, these kids nowadays, man, like if they have to just do school and academia, it's a stress point, and it's like they completely have to disconnect, and they have no energy, no tenacity or will to really propel themselves into moving forward. And I hear a lot of mixed messages from other people that are far more successful than I am, that have attributed their success to the complete opposite. They were just raised in an environment that established academia and discipline, but the grit aspect wasn't there. So like, I guess my question to you is like, what is our formula is grit, tenacity, will, and discipline, but like, can you be successful without having a little skin in the game? Like, honestly,
so this is the thing. And it's a great question, Mo, because the reality is when you have a society that has, like I said, 10th place trophies, participation awards, you don't get a chance to get slammed in the face. You don't get a chance to suffer with that pain, because that pain makes you learn if you want to push through or not, right? So I think that you can be an academic, right? You could be in that lifestyle, but to actually build something massive, right? It does take grit, because it's not as easy as taking a test or doing good on your scores, right? It's not as easy as that. When it comes to building a big business, you see some of these things happen sometimes where entrepreneurs are like, damn, if I really knew what it took, I probably wouldn't have done it. But you're too deep. You're already too deep. So some of these skills that require you to build a big team, require you to build a big mission, requires you to fail, so that you can know that you could push through to the next thing and the next thing, because your business might need to pivot. Your leadership needs to grow, right? And that's where grit comes in. Somebody leaves you, right? In your business, maybe you're number two, or you get scammed. If you're not really taught to survive that kind of shit, then it's going to be super tough on you. So I don't think that you could build something crazy good, something crazy big, just only by your studies.
You got to have some semblance of thick skin.
Yeah,
You would have had to bleed a little bit in your life to know how to overcome it. I mean, that's why I think failure is so necessary in life, because without it, what do you have to show for it? Like, you can't just go from making no money to making $100 million a year company. It doesn't work that way.
No, not at all. So there's a thing and for me to transition from, now I have, a successful, 8-figure plus business, right? 75 employees. I have a real estate holding company, about 30 million in multifamily assets, right? And, big team. But the reality is how the ordinary person like myself coming into this country, not speaking English, and then putting yourself through school, because let's just say like college and like the college fund, it's not a thing.
Mm-mm.
It's not an option, right? So either you pay for it yourself. I had 3 jobs. I would do whatever at night also when I started the business, anything from like coding, building web pages to like, electrical jobs on the weekends because they pay good. That's what I did even after I started the business. Because if you need a nice pop of money, I knew how to get it. But there's a few skills that are required, and at the beginning, maybe your sleep's not going to be the priority, right? It's going to be like, all right, well, if I could fit 4 hours of programming at night, I think I was billing like $130 an hour, but at that time to some specific clients, I'm like, dude, I could make some bills with this, right? And then from there you start thinking, all right, well, I'm gonna start building a team, somebody to help me. Can I? Is this venture really gonna make it? Because remember, a lot of us start businesses because it's something that we like, or we fall in love with, or it's a passion, or it's a hobby that you like. But do you think, or do you know that it's really going to make it? Most of us don't. So at the beginning, this is the question that I get all the time, Mo. It's like, hey, how'd you start this? Why? What was the vision and the mission behind starting it, right? Did you love it and all that? I'm like, hey, at the beginning, it's like, can I make some money at this to survive? I didn't really love anything. It wasn't a passion, right? It becomes a passion years later when it's the thing that's feeding you, and then you create another mission.
Plus, you don't realize that you actually become good at that thing.
Yeah, you become good at that thing, right? So if there's a lot of, and trust me, I'm always like learning, right? So now for me, it's about like, how can I become good and better and a better leader to my team, right? But at the beginning, you're not even thinking about that. You're like, all right, well, you're getting good at the craft of what you're doing, not really yet getting good at being a leader. You're not getting good at what you're supposed to be doing as the top guy. You're kind of in the weeds, and that was me for years. So I think those are key things that anyone that's building something has to understand. You got to do something that you can make money at, and then you can repeat it. And then even if you don't love it, if it starts bringing value to others, you'll, like, trust me, you will love something when you're bringing value to someone else, and you're making money at it, and you're able to build like generational wealth that you could not do. For example, me in Mexico, that nobody in my family could even think of how to help me do it, because we don't have that learning.
I'm curious, I also come from an immigrant family. My wife does as well. She's Mexican, Puerto Rican, so I get it. I'm Lebanese, and I understand that perspective. Not everybody does. So my question is that, did you get a lot of pushback from your immigrant family?
100%. Yeah, 100%. So anyone that's an entrepreneur that's building something big is gonna get pushback from the immediate friends, immediate family, and your circle is going to be smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And you have to take that. You have to say, hey, look, this is the vision. If you can't get behind me, it's cool. You don't have to be a dick about it, right? To to your friends or family, but you do start hanging out with bigger mentors that can help you push through. For example, even in my family, when I come over to my mom's house and all that, she knows they're not going to be talking negative stuff, because it typically can go like that, right? Because hey, look, if I'm going to be around, I want to talk about positive things. There's always negativity, so let's skip it, and they know.
Totally. It just completely like distorts everything, your way of thinking and your perspective. And you don't think so because it's subconscious, but it does hinder you over some time. What was so like for me, I remember I got a lot of pushback for years till finally one day I got a check in the mail for $10,000, and my family saw it and they're like, we're proud of you. Like, what did you do? I'm like, the shit that you've been telling me not to do, for years. So like that was a pivotal moment for me. Was there a moment in time, whether it be financial or what have you, that like your family was like, wow, like you're onto something? Like they finally start to see, yes,
yeah,
no?
I mean, like one thing, for example, that I did as soon as possible is just, retired my folks and took care of their monthlies stuff, right? So let's just say that in my family, we didn't really have that pat on the back, mentality that, oh, you're doing a great job mentality. It was just not there. My dad didn't get it from his upbringing. My dad's dad didn't get it, right? So they didn't know where to pull from to say those kind of things, right? So to me, I did it for my own learning, from my own experience, to say, hey, look, I'm doing valuable things in the market for people, for my family. So like, I give myself a pat on the back, like you see sometimes that Snoop video that's like, I want to thank me.
Yeah.
You have to do that because you don't do that for a long time,
you got to. Yeah. I mean, I still get pushback now because I've like transitioned, industries. Like I can't even tell you how many times, but just in the last like 3 years, I've switched things up because I built the thing that has made me money. And now I want to build the thing that can make me money. And I'm also passionate about, so it's just like, well, what are you doing that for now? Because you've already like do the thing that's, putting a roof over your family's head and blah, blah, blah. So it's a constant shift. And it's like, God, now we're going back to square one. Going back to your story real quick, so you put yourself through school and you were basically going against the grain, right? Everything around you is basically saying, don't do this. This isn't the thing that you need to do to support yourself. This is the tried and true way. Let's do it this way. But you're like, nope, I'm going to create my own path. I'm going to pave my own path. I'm going to go this way. Yeah. So after you put yourself through school, did you immediately dive into, hey, I'm starting like these side businesses when I have these 4 hours here, 3 hours here, and developing these skills? Or did you like start working for somebody and start to acquire these skills?
So I always like was doing something, right? Let me start this thing over here. There you go. So I'm always like I remember I was going through school. I was working construction from 6 a.m. to 3. And then a friend and I would take turns because our school was 5 to 10:30 at night. So we had to go to Anaheim for that. It's about in traffic, it's about an hour. So we would take turns. I would sleep one day on the way to school, and then he would sleep another day on the way to school, and that's how we would do it, right? As soon as I remember, even through that time, I was doing like odd things here and there on the weekend. I would like from the regular job, because in the regular job, it's like, I was helping my family, right? So it's not like you're getting paid a lot, because that's just how it is. It's like, hey, you know what? You got to help pay the rent, this and that. That's kind of the, what everyone did in the family to keep the bills going, right? So
yep, that or send money back home if your family's not here.
Yep, exactly. So then from there, I will now need money for me. So I got to do stuff on the weekend, Sundays. And then at night, I would always do like, I'm gonna build a computer, and then sell it. And build a computer and sell it to someone. I was doing that like ever since I got my hands around the first computer, right? So that's where I knew like, dude, tech is my thing. It's not gonna be like construction. I mean, I learned a lot. I'm using my skills in construction now in my real estate business, right? But I'm like, dude, this is hard work. I'm gonna, learn tech. So I went to school for electronics, engineering, and computers, and that's what I did, right? So I always did odd jobs, and to make a buck, right? So I understood early on that you need to trade value for money in order to make more than you could in your hourly. So as soon as I graduated, I started looking for jobs, and it was a mission, and plus you're graduating, as a tech, and you're pretty much starting from zero. You're starting from zero, minimum wage.
Yeah, I think just sorry to interrupt you, but I think everybody that's listening right now, probably the thing that you just said probably went over everybody's heads. You learned early on that you got to trade value for money in order to make more money. What do people mostly do? They trade time.
Yep.
For money. I think that's fucking huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted
to. Yeah, no,
it.
it's a great takeaway. 100%. So when you start doing that, then you can have some leverage, right? You can have leverage. So, I went to countless interviews, all the way to like the Inland Empire, LA, all these things, right? I graduated, I think I was 19, 20, around there. I finally got hired somewhere in Irvine. They were doing technology for hotels, right? So I was involved in that kind of stuff. When you stay in a hotel room and you use the printer downstairs, fax machine back in the day, computer, and even in-room internet. So we developed technology to charge guests for it, swipe your credit card, or enter your credit card in your room and pay for internet, right? So, people who hate paying for internet in hotels, you're welcome, because those are the things that, I was part of developing early on. And so one of the things that I noticed, and I didn't know at the, I started realizing it like in these last few years, Mo, is that, and it's an important takeaway, what people think is hard work, to me, it was like, man, this is easy. This stuff is easy. Sometimes people think, hey, you know what? I'm working so hard. But what are you comparing that to? What are you comparing that to? And that's why right now, to me, when there's a challenge, I relate it to, I remember like digging ditches in the summer, with a shovel. I remember, doing roofs. I remember being inside attics or underneath homes, and like, dude, that's hard work. When you're sitting behind a desk and you gotta reply to some emails, or you gotta like, hop on some interviews and all that, or lead the team, dude, that's so easy. Or you have a challenging problem, like, dude, you're in an air-conditioned place, it's like nice, it's super nice. So one of the tips for success is like, you really got to look at what hard work really is. And then from there, you can start making some judgments. And then everything that you do on a day-to-day will seem easier.
I agree. And I think it's a nice blend of the two. It's understanding that you got to work hard, you got to have the grit and the discipline, but at the same time, you got to have the emotional intelligence, but also like the academic intelligence, like the things that you are trying to master as a skill, like coding or electronics or computer engineering or whatever it is that you may be, if you're a nutritionist or whatever. So you have to have that academic type knowledge in order to, further your career, but without the piece of, hey, you got to actually work hard. You got to put in time. You got to put in the hours. Sometimes the sleepless nights are going to have to kick in. Otherwise, you're just going to be as good as the average person. And if you're trying to earn an extra average income, then, you know, it has to match, right? Otherwise it's just, it doesn't prove, it doesn't turn out to be the way that you think it is in your head, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, so, and I think that's the biggest miscommunication. I think that's the piece that in today's society is like, well, I'm just going to go do XYZ, 4 years here, 4 years there, and I'm going to get my degree and I'm going to work, you know, and I'm going to make the money. But I can't tell you, I come from a family of medical field. I can't tell you how many of them failed.
Yeah.
Or it's taken them almost 3 times as long because it's just the will for tenacity is just not there.
Yeah, 100%. So it's that part that you really have to start looking honestly at what you're doing, right? So this is another thing is I'm you know, completely transparent and with myself and honest with myself, right? So for example, I know when I put in a basic day, and I know when I hustle. And I don't lie to myself and say, hey, you know what? Oh man, I'm grinding. I look at results, right?
Yep.
You know, one of our core values is results, right? So I have to look at them like, what results did we get in the organization for the day, right? At 5:01, I get my numbers. So I'm focused on that. Did we achieve our results that we were looking for today, right? And I'm, you know, when I'm completely transparent and when you can be honest with yourself, it makes it easier because you can say, hey, you know what? Actually, maybe I can achieve this same amount of work in 4 hours, 2 hours, and then hang out, do the things I want to do.
I was just about to say that I've done more work in 3 hours time than I have in 12.
Yeah, 100%. And for example, me, I did many years of like, you know, low sleep and all that. And for example, I know 100% I need my sleep. Otherwise, I'm useless, right? And so I get my 8 hours. Get up in the morning. I don't check email, social media, none of that stuff. It's for me. And you know, I've been doing that for about a year now. And it's transformed because it helped me visualize what needs to happen. And that's one of the true powers of doing big things, having big. So there's 2 tips for that, all right, that I use. So number 1, the visualization of what the big thing that you want and what you want to achieve. For example, for us, we empower business owners globally to thrive with our print-on-demand solutions. And we want to create $1 billion organization, you know, alongside 3,000 team members that are impacting 1 million creators out there, right? So they're big, some might say unattainable visions and goals, but it helps you pull through to any of the daily BS that you're going to go through to your business. So visualize a great big target, big mission, right? So that you know what you're doing it for.
Are you writing it down?
Yeah, I'm writing it down. I have my goals in the morning that I look at, you know, and this learning from mentors, you know, Brandon Dawson, Grant Cardone, and one of my biggest mentors in those you know, areas of, for example, real estate, Grant Cardone, number 1, and then, you know, scaling and building a business, Brandon Dawson, number 1 right there. And I look at those goals, I look at those targets, and then visualize, you know, getting there, you know, because once you have that bigger vision and mission, it really helps you push through. When you say, hey, a mom of 2 is making 45 grand a month from home, selling, you know, it's wine o'clock shirts and having a great time with her kids, and they're using your products to do it, it fires me up. You know, we just had a dinner with clients in Florida, and you know, another customer, she's like, hey, I'm living my dream. I could be with my kids at home. I print shirts, and I don't have to be tied to a schedule. They don't need to have a nanny. And like, you know, with tears in her eyes, she's saying how this product's changing her life, right? So I want to create customs, you know, like I want to create countless stories like that. And, you know, I need to do it by having that big vision.
I love it. If you can give the listeners right now one piece of advice, and just so you give your perspective, 90% of our listeners are between the ages of 25 and 30.
Yeah.
So if you can give them one piece of advice that helps them at least push them into the right direction of whatever it is their goals and their plans are, what would that be? And I know it's such an open-ended, generic
it is,
question.
but there's one key element, right? Who are your mentors? Who are you looking up to? Have they actually done the work that you want to do?
That's a big one.
Because, my overnight success took 16 years, right? And to build something big. And the reality is you have all these coaches and influencers and online, they're 19, 20, showing the baller lifestyle, but they haven't done shit. So you got to look at like, what, the reality of a real business with real people, real brick and mortar products, real problems, real successes. It takes time and it takes patience. Everybody trying to be rich quick, right? I'm trying to be like generational. I'm trying to build generational wealth for sure. Not quick. So maybe I could have done it quick, but I was, in a different time. But remember, there's no Instagram when I started. There's no Facebook. There's none of that stuff. And it's more like pick up the phone and call.
I'm with you. I learned the hard way that money that comes fast doesn't last. And that's just the reality. And maybe you're smarter than me and you can, but from my experience and the people that I've spoken to, it's usually not the kind of money that's going to keep you, because it's all perspective, right? Like that's why they say that, people that generally win, like, Powerball or whatever it is, that they blow through it so quickly because the I guess the knowledge that you learn, over the course of 10, 15, 20 years of actually building something foundational, you don't get it over the course of, a few years of just all of a sudden now you're $5 million richer and you've been broke all your life. Like that, there's no skill there. There's no money management skill or investing skills or anything that comes in terms of that. So anyways,
there's really no substitute. There's no substitute to and to learning, and then there's one more thing. I think it'd be a disservice if I don't share, Mo.
Please.
Is that, you have to look at how you can invest into real estate, right? To build long-term wealth. That's my strategy to keep growing. All I'm doing is staying broke. I'm like looking for my next deal all the time. And I just move my profits to apartment buildings,
I love it.
And that's what I do. So if you really want generational wealth that will always be there, it's not an app, they're real estate that people that need to live there. And I'm all about positive living is the message all in our real estate company, right? So if there's one takeaway that anybody that's successful or in the middle, start putting the money to work and then spend the proceeds. Don't be baller on your income. Be baller on your passive income.
That's I so appreciate you saying that. That is my next strategy in the next phase of my life, is doing exactly that, because otherwise I could be the richest guy in the world. I still have to work.
Yep. 100%. So that's why I'm over here. For example, most of my apartments are here in Vegas. It's a landlord friendly state, and I come in here and I check on the properties and I look at new deals, spend a day or two, and then I take back off.
Can you give me one free piece of advice outside of Vegas? What would be another?
I'm looking at Florida. I'm looking at Texas. Yeah. Yeah. So positive migration states. Zero tax states is what I look for.
Yeah, I was looking at Texas, so that's good to hear.
Yep.
Sweet. Thank you so much, man. What is the best place for people to reach you at? Like
yeah, definitely.
Would it be Instagram? Is that
Instagram, Victor_8_Peña. And I have links to my YouTube channel and videos there. You know, and depending on when we release this, we'll push it out. And you know, the idea is to inspire people and motivate them to push through. And you know, I'm committed to that.
One of the great things about this podcast is that I'm bringing people that you can all learn from. So every single guest that we get on this show, you know, some of you are going to connect to. And if you're interested in entrepreneurship and learning about investments, like you have an opportunity here to learn from somebody that actually walks the walk. As you just said, you can check them out on YouTube. You can check it out on Instagram and, you know, reach out to him, study from him, and maybe one day you'll be able to work with him or partner with him. So Victor, so much, man. I'm so grateful to have you on the show.
Go to habitsofthefew.com.